channel. If you guys like what you're seeing, don't forget to comment, share, subscribe. And let's get down to business, y'all. Let's get down to business. Yeah. So what is the biggest fight in boxing? Well, let's go through some of the big fights, upcoming fights this year. Um, got Canelo versus Triple G. Got Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor. We got Claressa Shields, who will be facing Savannah Marshall. Um, we'll have Anthony Joshua matching Alexander Usyk very soon. Devin Haney either rematching George Kambosos or facing Vasily Lomachenko, or maybe even Tank Davis. We may have Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. These all Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia is going to be a massive fight. We're also going to have Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. So there are all those fights that are lined up still on the cards for this year. Okay? Um, those are all big fights. But what is the biggest fight this year? What's going to be the biggest fight? What's the super fight for this year? So leave your comments in the comment section below which fight you think is going to be the super fight for this year. I am what you need. You're watching my channel. And if you like what you're seeing, don't forget that you can comment, subscribe. You can also share these videos. And finally, even though I don't have it right now as we're streaming, but once the stream is over, you can donate to my PayPal, which the link will be down in the comment section below or in the detail section. All right, so let's go through it. Let's go through the fights that are upcoming. Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk. Okay? Getting a rematch. Okay? That's a big fight. But as you know, it's not happening in the United States of America. It's happening in the UK. And while a lot of eyes are going to be on that fight for sure, no doubt about it. In fact, it's not going to be in the UK. It's going to be in Saudi Arabia, right? What? Dubai, sorry. It's Dubai. And while there'll be a lot of eyes on that fight, no doubt about it, the thing that we know is that a fight like that, while great, most people are favoring Usyk to win that fight. Okay? So that Anthony Joshua's kind of climbing up a hill. Not to say that he doesn't have a good trainer who usually has good game plan in Robert Garcia to help him win that fight. And they probably have a good game plan. But the odds are going to favor Alexander Usyk for another win. We also have Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor 2. Now, the first fight was a tremendous success. Both women showcased their skills and abilities. I believe in the rematch, Katie Taylor's going to have an edge on Amanda Serrano. Having faced that style before, she'll be better prepared for Amanda Serrano. I think she'll have a much more decisive victory. That's going to be a big fight for women's boxing, no doubt about it. But that's a fight I favor Katie Taylor to win in the rematch, just like what she did with Delphine Persoon. So these two fights I just mentioned, we could kind of predict the winner. It may not go the way exactly we expect it, but we expect Usyk to beat Anthony Joshua. We expect Katie Taylor to beat Amanda Serrano. Now, the other big fight coming up. All right, now, mind you, these fights that I'm talking about, some of them are not, the contracts are signed for some of these fights, and some of these fights, the contracts are signed, right? We got Devin Haney. Let's start with this one. Devin Haney versus Kambosos 2. Now, this is probably the least likely one to be a box office blockbuster, because Haney already beat Kambosos. Kambosos be talking funny. I don't even know why we having a rematch. But this is a dud. This we know Haney's going to win that rematch. Okay? Just based on his attitude and behavior, he's going to win that rematch. Okay? There's nothing Kambosos is going to do that's going to change that. Um, However, if for some reason Kambosos is he's not rematching Kambosos and he goes straight into the Lomachenko fight, and we're talking about Devin Haney versus Lomachenko, that's a much more in demand fight. But I do not believe that that fight is a fight in which we can't predict. Meaning, we expect Devin Haney to beat Lomachenko. Now, some people are big Lomachenko fans and stuff, but we saw Lomachenko get beat. He got beat by Teofimo Lopez. And Teofimo Lopez beat him with a jab. So Devin Haney's a great jabber. So I don't see if Devin Haney keeps this fight long, he wins it just like any other fight he's had. Loma will try and bully his way to the inside. He'll come straight down the pike, hoping that Devin Haney don't knock him out. That's what his best guess will be because he's not going to be able to sidestep Devin Haney. So I see this fight going Kambosos route. But nonetheless, whether I believe that or not, this is an intriguing fight because it's two technicians fighting one another. But is this fight the biggest fight of the year? The fact that I predict that Devin Haney would win this fight, the fact that I believe that Katie Taylor will beat Amanda Serrano in the rematch, or that Anthony Joshua, or that Alexander Usyk would beat Anthony Joshua in the rematch, tells you that these are not as big a fight. Okay, the next fight we'll talk about as a big fight, and you guys can suggest in the comments or in the chat. You can suggest right now what you think the biggest fight for this year is. But let's just go through it. Canelo Alvarez versus Triple G 3. That's the other fight. Now I'm going to tell you right now, no matter what people say, no matter what the people in the audience say, oh, this fight's too late, it's too much. I'm going to tell you right now, that fight is going to make money. Okay? That is one of the big hitters for this year. Canelo Alvarez versus Triple G is a big fight. Okay? It never disappointed. Canelo 1 versus Triple G 1 never disappointed. Canelo 2 versus Triple G 2 did not disappoint. This is someone like Juan Manuel Marquez versus Manny Pacquiao. Okay? This is going to be an action fight. But, like I said before, if Canelo does, if he's training the way he's supposed to be training, if he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, he's going to stop Triple G. He's going to stop him. But if he's not doing what he's supposed to do, which again involves back foot boxing, he's going to have a much more difficult time with Triple G because Triple G, that's why he hired Jonathan Banks. He hired Jonathan Banks so he could box, so he could sidestep, that he could throw that jab, he could feed off the jab, he could work off his jab. And Triple G is going to be boxing Canelo. And if Canelo in any way underestimates Triple G, if he thinks it's easy work and he's going to stop him, that's not the case. Triple G's never been that kind of fighter. Gutsy. He's never even been dropped. Triple G has never been, well, I think he's been dropped once. But Triple G's a guy that's very, very tough. But if Canelo does what he does, like I said before, if he uses his boxing skill, if he boxes Triple G, if he uses his movement, if he improves his conditioning, stamina, and all of that stuff, and he keeps it consistent, and he works Triple G's body, and he peppers him, and he turns Triple G, and he boxes him. He makes Triple G come after him, and he boxes him, and he picks his shots. He's going to stop Triple G just like how Jamel Charlo, stopped Brian Castano. And Castano's a better fighter than Triple G. So that's what Canelo has to do. He has to work on his power, he has to work on his speed, but he has to work mostly on his boxing. And if he boxes Triple G properly, he's going to knock him out. The only thing I'm going to say, though, is will he box him or will he try to bang with him? He's going to try and come forward and impose his size and will on him and let Triple G just box his ears off. I don't know what he's going to do, but me personally, I think that Triple G always wanted to be undisputed. I feel like this is the same thing like Devin Haney versus Lomachenko. Lomachenko wants that undisputed title, so he's going to come after Devin Haney. And Triple G wants that undisputed title, so he's going to come after Canelo. He's got an incentive to come after Canelo. I'm sure he's prepared. I'm sure he's boxing. He's been doing that a lot of boxing with Jonathan Banks. So he's going to have a little, like one or two tricks up his sleeve if he's allowed to have those tricks up his sleeve. But if not, Canelo's just going to beat him up. But I think Canelo, the way how Canelo beats him will tell me if Canelo, because Canelo's talking about jumping back up and facing Dimitri Bivol next at 175. Like he's not playing around. So, Canelo want to get Triple G out of the way and then face the next best thing. But I'm telling Canelo, I would suggest to Canelo before you go into that Bivol fight that you make a detour and you face David Benavidez. I know what I'm saying. Because if he beats David Benavidez, there's nothing the detractors can say about Canelo. Not one damn thing. Not one damn thing. They can't say he was afraid of David Benavidez. They can't say he's afraid of Andre. They can't say he's afraid of Charlo. He got one more guy to clean up on 68-pound division. And it's not Triple G. It's David Benavidez. And I think David Benavidez should get a shot. And I think, again, it depends on how Canelo performs against Triple G. How he performs against Triple G will determine if he should step up and face David Benavidez next. But if his performance is exceptional, he stops Triple G. You know, he does his boxing, he stops Triple G. I say David Benavidez is next. Take a pause in the DAZN contract because the third one's an option, and come back to that DAZN contract after he beats David Benavidez. And I'm telling you, if he uses his footwork and he boxes David Benavidez and then puts pressure on him and walks him down, don't just try and walk down a guy from the get-go. Coy him into full sense of security. Let him feel like he's working his stick and his stick is working. And then mount your attack. Pick your shots. You know, bait him in. You know, because David like to go forwards, but he ain't that great going backwards. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's still many loopholes in David's game. David's not ready for Canelo, but, you know, all I'm going to say is give David a shot. Canelo beats David. David learns, he gets some experience, just like our Caleb Plant gets some experience. Maybe Canelo stops him, maybe he doesn't. It depends on how Canelo boxes him. If Canelo boxes him and makes David come into shots, I know David doesn't overextend himself behind the jab, but because his footwork is so slow, I can see Canelo catching him with that left hook. That left hook, David's still open for that left hook. He still don't clean up his game properly because he thinks he has the length and reach advantage. I can see Canelo catching him with that left hook. I'm putting him down on his ass at least once in the fight. And I think it's going to happen late. It's not going to happen early. But all I'm saying is that I would like to see Canelo moving more in the ring, boxing more in the ring, because that definitely will make him almost unbeatable if he can box. So hopefully he's working on that aspect of his game and working on, I mean, I'm talking high-pace boxing. I'm talking boxing at the highest pace possible under the most stressful conditions. That's what he needs. And once he can manage that situation, he can manage any situation, and Canelo will be basically a force that cannot be reckoned with ever because he can outbox. He just hasn't developed that aspect of his game. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Canelo versus Triple G3, it's gonna get attention. Canelo doesn't like Triple G. He's saying I'm gonna stop his ass. He says he's talking mad shit. So I can tell there's animosity there. People are going to feed into that. As this tour goes on and as Canelo gets more and more vitriol towards Triple G, and he shows it in his disdain and scorn because of Triple G, Canelo was supposedly, it's what Triple G said about Canelo being busted for clenbuterol that got Canelo pissed. Because before that, Canelo really didn't have a bad reputation. And then they always saying that Canelo ducking Triple G, he was afraid to face him. All of these things piss off Canelo because every time Canelo's career has kind of gone south a bit or his reputation has fallen down, it's because of Triple G. And Canelo's done everything that Abel Sanchez claimed Triple G should have done. And no one has criticized Triple G for that. And somebody got to pay for that. Somebody got to pay for that. Triple G's this angel, this saint, and Canelo's the dirty guy. Canelo's the guy ducking everybody. But Triple G ain't ducking. He's not ducking Demetrius Andrade. He's not ducking Jermell Charlo. Everybody's just giving a pass to Triple G. But Canelo's the guy that gets. So Canelo's he's gonna make him pay. He's gonna punish him for that. He's gonna punish him for that. But all I want Canelo to do, I don't want you to go in there trying to inflict your physical wrath on Triple G and try and get him out of there in 2 rounds. That's stupid. Boxing. 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 Show him you can outbox him. Because they say Triple G's a great boxer. Box him. Make him come to you. Box him. And have the superior footwork and the superior speed. And let's see that conditioning. Let's see that conditioning. Box him. You know? Make him come on the front foot so you can counter his ass. And that's what we really want to see. We want to see that from Canelo. Don't be throwing hard shots in the beginning. No, bait his ass in, draw him in, beat him down. Show me you a master boxer, or on the way to becoming a master boxer, because you need that to beat Dimitri Bivol. You're not going to beat Dimitri Bivol if you apply the same game plan that you had before. You're not going to beat him, but you will beat him if you come with a slickish, skilled thing where you making him throw shots and miss. You got to make him miss and make him pay. And once he misses, you can slide in and do whatever you want to do. You know? But hopefully that match with Bivol will be when Bivol's undisputed, because I see Bivol becoming undisputed. Anyway, so the fact that I'm talking so much about Canelo tells you that Canelo Triple G still frozen up. Okay. So I was saying, and then all of a sudden my feed froze up. I'm sorry about that. So the fact that I'm talking so much about this tells you that this is going to be a big fight, okay? This is going to be a big fight. It's going to be a big fight, okay? Canelo versus Triple G 3 is a big fight. So that's one of the biggest fights in boxing. Okay, right. Let's look at the other one we were talking about. The other fight we were talking about in boxing. A second. So Canelo Triple G3 is going to be a big fight, right? We talked about Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor. That's going to be a big fight too. Devin Haney versus Lomachenko. Anthony Joshua versus Usyk. Canelo versus Triple G. All right. What don't need to be said don't need to be said, but we'll get to it. If it happens, Tank versus Ryan Garcia or King Ryan. What happens if that fight happens? I'm going to say it right now. That's a big fight. That's a big fight. Mayweather Promotions, if Tank is with Mayweather Promotions, going to promote the daylights out of that fight. That's a huge fight. That's a huge fight. Okay? That's a huge fight. So that's huge fight number 2. And the fact that Tank never faced Ryan Garcia. But Ryan Garcia and Tank are known. And they're known beyond boxing. Right? The casuals know them, or getting to know them. And also, Tank's doing like 250 to 300,000 pay-per-view buys now. So Tank is becoming a name. He hasn't skyrocketed into the million pay-per-view buys yet. By the way, I think Triple G and Canelo, if it's a pay-per-view fight, it's going to make over 1 million pay-per-view buys, because everybody knows who Triple G is. They know the 2 fights. They know what to expect. So that third fight is going to make money. DAZN always wanted that fight, and they're going to get it. So Canelo Alvarez versus Triple G3, that's a big fight. Tank versus Ryan Garcia, that's a big fight. That's a fight that possibly, because it's 2 undefeated fighters, because Ryan Garcia has a following, and because Tank is a pay-per-view star, I expect Tank versus Ryan to do tremendous numbers. I'm talking about Tank has, by himself, has done 200 to 300 pay-per-view buys, right? 1,000 pay-per-view buys. This will do, I think this fight could do close to 1 million pay-per-view buys. It's not going to do over 1 million. I don't think it's going to do over 1 million. It depends on the promotion, because Ryan can promote a fight. So, Rolly Romero pushed the pay-per-view buys up to 300,000, pay-per-view buys. It's Rolly Romero who made that fight big, and then it was sold out in the arena, right? Record-breaking numbers in the Barclays. So Tank versus Ryan Garcia, I see Ryan selling that fight. And Ryan's another guy like Rolly Romero who is very charismatic. The difference is Ryan is a higher caliber fighter, I believe, than Rolly Romero. And I just think that Ryan Garcia is going to pose a much greater problem to Tank because of his length and his reach and his speed, his power as well. So I see Tank versus Ryan Garcia as it's promoted and built up. I see this fight as doing probably close to 500 to 600 pay-per-view buys. This is going to be Tank's biggest pay-per-view draw fight to date. At least conservatively speaking, 500, it's going to be double what Rolly Romero fight did. And the fact that that fight ended in a KO, and if Tank can KO Ryan Garcia, or Ryan Garcia could KO Tank, whoever KOs whoever, they're going to be the next pay-per-view star. They're going to be a pay-per-view star. Canelo's already a pay-per-view star. So Canelo does, his last two pay-per-view fights did between 600 and 900 pay-per-view buys. You know, Caleb Plant fight was big. It was a big fight again because of the clashes and all of the friction that happened in it. The Bivol fight wasn't so big, but the Caleb Plant fight was big. And I could see Canelo generating more pay-per-view buys by being more outspoken, you know, saying his piece, calling the bullshit on Triple G and all of that. I could see this fight building up to something where it makes, the Canelo Triple G fight makes over 1 million pay-per-view buys, for sure. So Canelo versus Triple G, I expect it to make over 1 million pay-per-view buys, even Triple G 3, because a sequel that's been good, Canelo versus Triple G 2 is a great sequel. So we know, once you say Canelo and you say Triple G, you're going to get something exciting. You either going to get a KO, you're going to get something, but it's going to be exciting. So Canelo versus Triple G, you can't go wrong with that. No matter that Triple G is 40 years old, you can't go wrong with that fight. That fight's going to make money. And it's going to make, I believe, over 1 million pay-per-view buys. DAZN's going to get that money from that. Right. When it comes to Tank versus Ryan Garcia, that's a big event. It's not going to be as big as Canelo versus Triple G 3, I believe. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You can correct me, and you guys can comment in the comment section below about that. But I think that Tank versus Ryan Garcia may do maybe numbers like, big numbers, like 600 pay-per-view buys. And that's rare that a fighter makes that. You know what I'm saying? Without some big star. But I think Ryan is that caliber of opponent, and Ryan is that kind of exciting fighter that would be able to draw that kind of pay-per-view, that kind of pay-per-view. Now, if we say conservatively 600,000 pay-per-view buys, right? Remember, Ryan's across with DAZN, Tank's across with PBC right now, which means nothing. I'll be honest with you. That don't mean nothing, okay? At the end of the day, if needed to be flexible, Ryan goes across to PBC or Showtime, and they have it on Showtime. But, of course, DAZN would like to be the platform to have it. So, but it has to be a pay-per-view fight. You can't, Tank only do pay-per-view. So, Ryan may have to come across to Showtime to make that happen. But that's a fight. If it happens this year, it's going to make money. Okay. Now, the last fight that I got to talk about is a very special fight. And a lot of people saying that hardcore boxing fans want to see this fight. No. Let me make this abundantly clear. Okay? Now, Mayweather and Pacquiao were known globally. They were global figures. You know, what Al Heyman has been able to do is Al Heyman has been able to put Errol Spence on television. And let me tell you why I believe that Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence, whenever that fight is called into being, will be the biggest fight. No fight will rival it. No fight will challenge it. In fact, that fight will definitely make over 1 million pay-per-view buys. Definitely. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay? One, that fight is not a fight for only hardcore boxing fans. The fighting style of both fighters is fan-friendly. Casual boxing fans can relate to them. They're very exciting fighters. Terrence Crawford has been seen on ESPN. ESPN is the biggest sport platform globally. He's been seen on ESPN and ESPN+. Errol Spence has done up to 600,000 pay-per-view buys in his fight against, I believe it was Mikey Garcia. Okay? In Texas. You don't do that kind of numbers if you're just hardcore boxing fans are supporting you. There are not enough hardcore boxing fans to do that. So Errol Spence has translated across from just hardcore boxing fans to Texan fans, to New York fans. I want you to understand, it's not global. He's not a global superstar yet, but he has a following. There are people who now follow him from all over the world, but in specific areas like Texas and so on and so on. Omaha, Nebraska backs Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford has been pound for pound #1 fighter in the world. So even if you're a casual boxing fan, let me tell you how easy this is for everybody to jump on board with this fight. We don't live in a world where we need to have the standardized medium of TV and cable anymore. We live in a world where social media runs the show. Social media, which means if there are rumors of a tremendous super fight on the horizon, somebody who's not even following boxing but is tied into social media is going to find out about it. So this is a different era, ladies and gentlemen. So what's going to happen is this. The buzz is going to start floating around about the super fight, Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence. And people who don't know, they don't even follow boxing, they don't know nothing about boxing, they're going to start seeing these ads on social media, and people, buzz created by hardcore boxing fans as well as casual boxing fans are going to talk about the fight. And they're going to say, what's all this row about? And they're going to look up Errol Spence and they're going to see him fighting. And they're going to be like, God damn. Because, Errol Spence just got an exciting fight style. They're going to look up Terrence Crawford. They're going to see him fighting on YouTube. God damn. We got Jake Paul with the Millenniums, and Jake Paul be patching into boxing. He always commenting on Twitter about boxing. And his followers are going to pick that up and they're going to watch it. If Jake Paul says, that's a fight you got to see. You got to understand how boxing works. This is social media. The world's connected now. If Jake Paul starts talking about this particular fight coming up, his followers are going to see it. All his Twitter followers. His millions of Twitter followers. Let's start with that. 2, if other boxers start talking about it in the industry, and then these guys are starting to be advertised on television, and then they're going to talk shows like CNN or ESPN or other talk shows in major media. And then, of course, there's new media, and then there's also little guys like myself. We start getting interviews and stuff like that. This is where the buzz for these fucking fights come from. This is where the buzz comes from. And the other thing that's most important for people to understand why this fight's going to be bigger than any fight this year. Shout out to, who is this here? Somebody just came through. Hold on a second. I'm going to get to you. Boxing Monster's in the building. What's happening, Boxing Monster? Biggest fight in boxing is Tank versus Rolly 2. Yeah, but that's not going to happen this year. That would be nice if Tank versus Rolly 2. That would be interesting. But I don't think that'll happen this year. And 2, I don't think Tank versus Pitbull could be a good fight. But again, I don't think it's going to generate the money like Tank versus Ryan Garcia. That's the biggest fight Tank could have in the lightweight division. The biggest fight in the lightweight division right now is Tank versus Ryan Garcia. That's the biggest fight. That's why Tank called out Ryan. He said, I want you next. He means it. He's going to do whatever it takes. He's going to get Al Heyman and everybody on board to make sure they get that Ryan Garcia fight. That's the fight that needs to be made. That's the biggest fight in the lightweight division. And I'm telling you, man, conservatively speaking, it could go as far as 1 million pay-per-view. It depends on how Ryan promotes it. It depends on how it's promoted. And it depends on what engine's behind it. See, Mayweather Promotions is so good at promoting fights because they have the experience of promoting Floyd Mayweather. So they know how to make mega events. They know how to make mega fights. Which leads me to my other point. If y'all listen carefully, Errol was saying when he will call when the fight is, but you hear Floyd Mayweather's voice in the middle of this bullshit. You hear Floyd Mayweather say, no, I'm going to tell you when this fight is ready. The fight's not ready right now. And you're wondering to yourself, what the hell is Floyd? What was Floyd doing in this fight? I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why Floyd's talking about this fight. Because Floyd knows this could be the biggest fight in a long time. It won't rival Mayweather-Pacquiao because Mayweather and Pacquiao were well-known characters. But they know what they have in this fight. They know what substance they have. And the way how they're going to package that and introduce it to the world, they already got... all you got to do is watch the fighters fight to start with. You can watch 1 or 2 clips and you're hooked on these fighters, right? But this is a unique situation. This is going to be the biggest money-making event for the year. Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence. If that contract is signed And the moment those guys come out in the public, it's a timing thing, it's a marketing thing, and they announce that fight. I'm telling you right now, that's the biggest fight this year, bar none. This is the biggest fight this year. Tank's on his way to becoming a pay-per-view star, but these two guys about to make some good money. I mean, good money. All right, this is the biggest fight this year. Okay, and let me tell you why it's the biggest fight this year. There's several different reasons. One, Showtime is right now the only major pay-per-view generating entity right now in the boxing world that's doing the biggest pay-per-views. The biggest pay-per-views come from Showtime. Okay? Biggest pay-per-views. Secondly, Mayweather Promotions, I have no doubt in my mind, will be applying their expertise, will probably be involved in the promotion of the event, even though we have Errol Spence has his promotional, Man Down Promotions, and Terrence Crawford, he don't have no promotional company, but he'll have a management company. I'm telling you, Mayweather Promotions, I would not be surprised if Mayweather Promotions is even involved in the negotiations between Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, which is why Floyd Mayweather probably said, until I say this fight is done, it's done. Because probably Terrence Crawford is looking over the contract in the presence of his managers and his people under the sort of umbrella of Mayweather Promotions. I don't know how else to say it, because Terrence Crawford has his own managerial team, but the promoter who's probably going to promote Terrence is going to be Mayweather Promotions. That's my thoughts on the issue. I don't know if it's true. I don't know what's going on with negotiations. But if Mayweather Promotions is promoting Terrence Crawford and therefore promoting the fight with Man Down Promotions, which is Errol Spence's company, under Al Heyman, this is going to be, I'm guaranteeing you, a mega fight. Because Mayweather Promotions never promotes nothing that makes small money. They are not in the business of losing money. And so you can bet your ass that the promotion for that thing's going to be crazy. And it's still going to be cheap. Cheap enough that they don't spend too much money on the promotion, but just enough that social media, especially the social media arm, goes nuts. Everybody goes nuts when they hear this fight is nailed down, because this is a fight in the making for 5 years. And believe it or not, you may think that the casual fans in boxing don't know about these two fighters, but they do. The casual boxing fan. I'm not talking about people who don't know nothing about boxing at all. They're not associated with boxing. But the casual boxing fans are the ones who are going to carry it, spread word of mouth to people who don't know shit about boxing and don't know nothing about boxing, period, and don't even mess with boxing. And it's going to become something that's bigger than just, it's going to be one of the most anticipated fighting events you'll ever have seen. It's going to be massive. If Mayweather Promotions is involved in the promotion, it's going to be massive. Trust me on this. Because they're going to promote these fighters and show how exciting they are. And they're going to show their records. They're going to show what caliber fighter they are. And all of that stuff. And it's going to really just get people inflamed. And then when the actual promotion, when the actual two fighters start to clash in their face-offs and stuff, it's going to get real interesting. I mean, it's going to be really interesting. The whole promotion is going to be great. You remember Caleb Plant? He had slapped Canelo, and he saw how that sparked off everything. And that fight almost did 1 million pay-per-view buys just off of that. Promotion for fights makes fights big. And if there's any promotional team that can do the biggest promotions ever, it's Mayweather Promotions, and I believe they're involved in this. So I'm going to guarantee you this. Ryan Garcia, King Ryan versus Tank is going to do some tremendous numbers, but I don't think it's going to do bigger numbers than the biggest fight this year. Once it gets made, the biggest fight this year, bar none, the biggest fight this year is going to be Errol Spence Jr. And it's so much richness to promoting this fight. Errol Spence Jr. versus Terrence Crawford. There's so much backstory. There's so much narrative. Terrence got shot in his head. Errol Spence got in a car accident. Then he got an eye injury. I mean, there's so much material for a fight like this. It cannot go wrong. It's going to make dollars. And we all know that fight is going to be spectacular. That's going to be fireworks. It is a can't miss can't fail fight. It's going to be the biggest fight in boxing this year. I know it. I sense it. I know it. That's why it's taking so long to be made, because they're done in acts, crossing their T's. They're figuring out how to promote this thing. They're figuring out how to put it together so that it is a mega event. And if it's in Las Vegas, the mecca of boxing, it's going to be the biggest event. It's going to bring tremendous revenue to Las Vegas. It's going to be the biggest event in a long time. It may not beat Manny Pacquiao Mayweather numbers, but it will come damn close to about half of that. It may do 200 million pay-per-view buys. It may be like Mayweather versus Oscar De La Hoya, Mayweather versus Canelo Alvarez. It could be that kind of fight because Errol Spence is a pay-per-view star. Terrence Crawford, he's not really a pay-per-view star, but he's done pay-per-view. I'm telling you, man, I'm telling you, with the right promoter, and I tell you, the promoter is Mayweather Promotions. If Mayweather Promotions is handling this, this is going to be the biggest fight, bar none, for 2022 and for a good long time. And maybe we might get a rematch out of this, which would be crazy. So, depending on how competitive it is. So, I mean, that is my list of top biggest fights of 2022 and for a good period of time. I think this is the best year in boxing, bar none, that we've had in a long time. We've had a couple undisputed champions. We had 2 undisputed champions this year. We've had some of the best fighters face the best. I mean, we couldn't have a better year right now in boxing. So, this is how my top 3 are. Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. At number 2, Canelo Alvarez versus Triple G, the trilogy, the finale. And at number 1, it will be, if it is signed, again, if Tank faces Ryan Garcia, that's going to be a big fight. And in the lower weight divisions, it's going to be the biggest fight from 140 all the way down to strawweight. Okay, that's going to be the biggest fight, Tank versus Ryan Garcia. Okay? Who says little guys can't make money? And then, superstar boxer Canelo Alvarez, pay-per-view giant, pay-per-view king, the cash cow of boxing, will be facing Triple G in the third of a trilogy and the closing chapter of the trilogy. And it's going to be fireworks. It's going to be a hell of a fight, tactical at certain points and then fireworks at another. I expect this fight to rake in over 1 million pay-per-view buys. Because Canelo Alvarez, his money-making power is tremendous. So what you want about him, he gives you exciting fights, and he gives you fights that end in KOs and shit. And this fight, I believe, just like Tank Davis versus Rolly Romero, just like Jamal Charlo versus Brian Castagna, is going to end in a KO. And that's going to make for even more pay-per-view buys, because people are going to expect it to end in a KO, and it's going to end in a KO. And it's going to have action, too. Okay, and y'all gonna value Triple G because he's 40 years old, unified champ at 160. Shout out to Triple G, by the way. And they're gonna give us an entertaining fight. And at the end of the day, after Canelo knocks his ass out, I hope that Canelo doesn't hate Triple G anymore. And he goes, he hugs the guy, kisses him, and says, "Man, thank you for all these great fights," you know, and moves on with his life. Okay, so number 1, it can't miss. It's the fight that we always wanted to see. We haven't seen 2 experienced veteran fighters. This has never happened in the history of, well, it's happened in the history of boxing, but it has never happened like this. These guys are in their primes, but the amount of experience they have in boxing is even greater than the experience that Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns had. Okay? They are smashing their competition, and on top of that, they mean business. When they get in there, they mean business. We're talking Terrence Bud Crawford, arguably the best fighter in the world today, versus Errol Spence Jr., the man at welterweight, the number 1 welterweight in the world, and pound for pound top 10 fighter in the world, versus the pound for pound number 1 fighter in the world in Terrence Bud Crawford. Now check this out. This is history in the making. One, it is for undisputed. Two, we're talking about two southpaw fighters fighting for undisputed. I do not know how many times that has happened in the history of boxing. But here's the new part. They're both in their primes, and they're both very experienced, very skilled, very savvy boxers who can make adjustments. What I'm saying to you guys is this. They both went through hell and back. We're talking Terrence Crawford got in a car accident. Then he got his eye orbital messed up. I'm not eye orbitals, his retina messed up. Okay? And then we got Terrence Bud Crawford, who's been shot in the head, and he'd been isolated from the welterweight division for a good period of time. We're talking two of the best boxers in the world, and not only that, but they had the peak of their physical abilities. We're talking about two savvy, smart, slick, sharp boxers. This is going to be an epic fight that a lot of people are going to talk about for a very long time. I know this because Errol Spence is never in a boring fight. Never. Never. He's a Bud Crawford has been knocking out fools at welterweight. Just knocking them out. Okay? Doesn't matter who they are. Knocking them out. So this is going to be an exciting fight. They're going to give you a show. And I believe this rivals Canelo versus Triple G3 because at least you know what happens when these two come together, Canelo and Triple G. In this case, we have no idea who is going to win this fight. I can't predict a winner. I can predict a winner I can almost predict a winner for Usyk versus Anthony Joshua. We just want to wonder how Usyk's going to overcome Joshua's more physical nature. We can predict Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. We can predict Devin Haney versus Kambosos or Devin Haney versus Lomachenko. We can even predict Canelo versus Triple G. We lean towards Tank versus Ryan Garcia. I want to see how he overcomes the reach and the length. I think Ryan jab's pretty good too. So we'll see what Ryan Garcia. I can't really say I can predict it. I want to see what happens when those two guys match up. I know Tank can deal with long fighters, but we will see. Ryan has power too. But, ladies and gentlemen, if I come out here and say I can predict Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence, I'll be lying to you. That is a fight I don't know who's going to win. I would say I'll lean a little bit to Crawford, but I really can't say because let me tell you why. I know Errol Spence has other skills besides walking down fighters. We've seen him box Mikey Garcia. We know he can keep range and distance very well. He uses the jab very well. And the thing that really scares me about Errol Spence is his beautiful pivot work. He really cuts angles beautifully. And he pivots so very well. I mean, like a ballerina. The motherfucker, I'm sorry. The guy, he just pivots so well. So basically what I'm saying is, I don't know who's going to win that fight. That's a fight I actually have to watch to see who will win. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a hell of a fight. So that is my pickings for the biggest. This is a throwback fight, kind of like, but not really. It's a modern throwback fight. This is one of those fights which I cannot predict, and it's going to excite all the fans. It's going to excite me, all the Errol Spence fans. Shout out to you guys. All the Crawford fans, shout out to you guys. I'm not picking anybody. Yeah, I said I lean towards Crawford, but not really. Because I look at what Errol can do and I look at what Crawford can do, and I'm telling you right now, I don't know who's going to win. I don't know who's going to win. It could end in a draw, and we don't know what's going to happen. It's one hell of a fight, and I don't know who is going to win. And for that reason, I'm telling you, it will spark anybody's imagination. And the thing about it is, if you say Crawford versus Spence is happening, and somebody says Crawford versus Spence, who are those guys? And you tell them to YouTube who Errol is and YouTube who Crawford is and see the highlights or watch the whole fights, they're going to glue in. It doesn't matter what kind of fan you are. You could be a casual fan. You don't even know nothing about boxing. When you see these two guys fight, you're going to get captivated by them. And just for that reason alone, this fight's going to sell like crazy. I'm telling you, man, the buzz on this fight's going to be crazy. But it's timing. They will have to know when they're going to, because this is a highly anticipated fight. And this is not just hardcore fans that anticipate this. It's gone to the casual fans. I know because some casual fans don't even know shit about boxing, but and people are gonna chirp about this fight. This is one of those big fights that just sitting there simmering, simmering, simmering. So that's the biggest fight for 2022, I believe, and I can't wait for it. I really can't. And I would love to see Ryan versus Tank. I hope that happens. I hope that happens. That's a big, big payday for Ryan. That's a big payday for Tank. That's a big payday for Golden Boy Promotions. And depending if Tank is with Mayweather Promotions or not, I don't know what's going to happen. But maybe Mayweather Promotions may have to still promote Tank or not. I don't know. That's a big fight. But you know, if Tank's smart, whether he's with Mayweather Promotions or not, he would have Mayweather Promotions promoting that fight. That's what you got Mayweather Promotions promoting that fight. It's gonna be big. Yeah. So that's what I got for you guys. I am what you need. If you guys have any more questions for me, like, share, subscribe. You know, leave the comments in the comment section below. If you think there are other fights that I did not mention that are probably bigger fights than these, or you think are the biggest fights, let me know. Put it in the comment section below as well. If any of you guys want to leave any other comments in the chat section here, let me know. Let me see if anybody else said anything. Just Boxing Monster. All right. So that's it for me. I'm what you need. Blessings to each and every one of you guys. I wish you guys life, health, and strength. You know, some very near and dear people to me have gotten injured, and also some of them have died within the last week. So, you know, I wish you guys nothing but health and strength and well-being. I'm gonna catch you guys later. We're gonna see. I did the prediction for I did the predictions for tonight's fights as well. That's in another video. It's pretty long. All my videos are long now. I ain't doing no more short videos. You guys can share the videos from my page as well. Gary Henderson in the building. Peace to you, my brother. I did the predictions. I got my boy. I got Bam Bam winning, man. I know you guys thinking Saron Visai gonna beat his ass because he's so small, but I got Bam Bam winning that fight. You don't just jump up on 1 week's notice from light flyweight to super flyweight and beat a bona fide seasoned former world champion for the vacant title. You don't just do that. Bam Bam had a longer time to prepare for this fight, to get more size under him. You know, he's training with Robert Garcia. Robert Garcia's a hell of a trainer. I got Bam Bam winning this fight running away. And he got that skills. He step around you. He step around you. You know, he got that boxing skill. He got that pedigree. And, you know, he come from Texas, too. Them Texas boys bad, right? So I got Bam Bam on this one. I know he's smaller. I know he can't take too much punishment from the bigger Saron Visai. Saron Visai is very strong. But I don't think Saron Visai is that good a boxer, man. I've seen I'm not rolling wrong, you know, box circles around him. You know, they gave Saron Visai that fight, but I thought I'm at running wrong. I know later on in the fight, Saron Visai turns it up, though. He turns it up. So we're going to see. But I got my boy, Bam Bam. Come on, Bam Bam. Let's do this, baby. Take it home. You know, I think Bam Bam can do it. So we're going to see. We're going to see. He got the skills to do it. That boy got skills, man. That boy got skills. Southpaw skills. I know the southpaw advantage won't be advantage for him against Ron Visai, but he step around you, man. He step around you. You go weak side. He find a way to go weak side. He feint you one way. He step around you. You know, pop that jab. He got a nice jab. I think Bam Bam will take him. I think he take him. I'm going with Bam Bam. I'm going with Bam Bam. I got him dropping him late, too. I don't think he fill out yet into Superfly. This dude's a light flyweight fighting super flyweights. Come on, man. Bam Bam got skills, man. He got skills. And then the others are not hard to predict. I think MJ should MJ should take care of this veteran fighter. What's the guy's name? The guy's name is I got him somewhere. Ronnie Rios. Yeah, Ronnie Rios. Ronnie Rios got a lot of experience though. He been a top contender and everything. So we'll see how MJ fare up with him. But MJ strong. He a southpaw as well. Good power. So at super bantamweight, he should be. He might even stop Ronnie Rios. Who knows? You know. And then we got McCaskill against Alma Ibarra. So that should be a good fight, action-packed fight. So we got 3 action-packed fights tonight. Good night of boxing for DAZN. DAZN 3 championship fights, by the way. undisputed championship on the line. Welterweight undisputed champ Jessica McCaskill. Hopefully, maybe she can face Cecilia Brækhus again. And we got Jesse Bam Bam Rodriguez versus uh, Shrisk, uh, 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 Srisaket Sarong Visai. Srisaket Sarong Visai is live. He gonna be a problem. You know, he's bigger, he's stronger. In the early beginnings, you know, I suggest Bam Bam box him. And then you got MJ Amagdaliev versus Ronnie Rios. You know, and that's for the I believe Amagdaliev has the IBF and WBA titles. He won from Roman from 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 um, uh, from Roman. Yeah. All right, peoples. I'm gonna catch you guys later. I'm what you need. Peace.